And then when you get older, you try and tell that same story, but you put your own little spin on it. Like, usually sit in a little corner on my own. I'm just one of the fans having an opinion in my head.
Überleben ist reine Glückssache.
Was sind das denn für welche?
Sie helfen dem Mosasaurus. Territorium verteidigen, nachstellen, jagen.
Nichts, was Sie da sagen, ist was Gutes.
You were actually responsible for the rebirth of several franchises, from Star Wars to Godzilla to now Jurassic World. What excites you about the process of rebooting an existing IP for a new audience, and how does it compare to developing your original ideas?
Yeah, it's super interesting. I try to understand it myself because I've always wanted to tell original films, and I feel like these are original films, but they're about something we know, right? It was funny because Jonathan Bailey, who's in the film, he was in, whilst we were editing the movie, he was in London as well, doing a Shakespeare play, Richard II. Did you go see it?
I didn't see it in
Right.
person, but I saw the trailer for it and
Yeah.
it looked amazing.
And so, and I went to see it, you know, because you've got to be friendly to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
actors
sure.
and support them. And so I went to see it and it was amazing. And halfway through I was thinking, this is a kind of franchise. Do you know what I mean? Like, people come and they redo and remake Shakespeare over and over, and there's so many versions of it. You could kind of say this is an IP, right? Like the oldest IP maybe, one of, right? And so it's a bit like that. I think when there's all these experiments in cinema, and then someone finds something special, a set of ingredients, and it becomes like kind of a mythical story in a way, or a setting. And I think it's just like what happens probably through all of time as humans is we would sit around a campfire with a flickering light, and as kids, some older, you know, tribesperson would tell you this story, this thing that happened. You go, oh my gosh. And you want to hear the ending and how they survived so that you can use that in your life, right? And then when you get older, you try and tell that same story, but you put your own little spin on it. And in a way, these sort of things are like that, where I got told a story when I was a kid around the flickering light, you know, in the cinema, and now I'm getting my chance to tell the kids the story again, but hopefully with a new take on it.
That's a great take, yeah. Never thought about that way. You have stepped in the footsteps of the likes of Colin Trevorrow, J. Bayona, and of course the legendary Steven Spielberg. What through line through the movies did you pick up on while working on this movie?
It's really difficult because I find with cinema, I mean, the reason I love it is it's really sometimes hard to put into words. You know, you can't analyze it and explain exactly why it's working. It's like music is like that. You can't explain to someone what a C chord is or a D chord, but everyone who plays music knows, and everyone listens to music feels it. And it's like when you watch this kind of movie, you know what it's supposed to be and what it's not supposed to be as a fan. And so all you do over the time that you're making it is just you're sort of navigating this very fine line. If you go slightly left, then you're just copying the previous film. If you go slightly right, it's no longer Jurassic. And so you're just trying to make all the right choices you can so that when you come out the other end, you're like, that really felt like a Jurassic film, but it wasn't necessarily like totally copying the original or something. And that was like the holy grail for us as we were doing it.
We're all fans of the Jurassic films, and you're known to be a fan first and now a filmmaker. How does it compare being a fan of these movies or movies in general, and now being a filmmaker and like calling the shots and developing your own stories?
I think it's the same thing. I mean, basically, I hold the camera some of the time, and what I'm doing or what I'm imagining, or even if someone else is operating, I'm looking at the monitor, like usually sit in a little corner on my own, and I'm just picturing them in the cinema. I'm just picturing them there now, this like a year from when we're filming to when it gets released, and I'm just one of the fans having an opinion in my head. And so as I'm watching it, I just have reactions like you would, and then I go back and I say, hey, maybe we do this instead of that, and maybe this idea. And you're just trying to I always picture, and I sometimes even put my fingers in front of, as if they're heads in the cinema, you know, to look like people are in the way. So I feel like I'm in one of these theaters, and then you just go with your instincts, really.
I love that. Your movies always have one thing above all, that is scope. be it the sheer size of the Death Star in Rogue One, which I loved, the monster in Godzilla in comparison to the city, or the space station in The Creator. What was your relationship like to your DP, John Matheson, to realize the size of these dinosaurs? Because I think it's more gigantic than in any previous movies.
Yeah, I don't know, I hear this about myself, and I take it as a compliment, I guess.
But it's like, absolutely,
no, yeah.
Absolutely. It just looks so grand, so epic.
But I don't know why it's happening. Like I am trying to make something epic. Obviously, that's like a goal.
Yeah.
But you just make them big, right? It's kind of what I want to say to you.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's important, and my background was visual effects. I used to do computer graphics and things, and you learn a lot of rules about what makes a shot look good or bad very painfully when you do computer graphics. If you're doing photography or camera work and I have a bad composition, it just takes me 5-10 seconds to move over here, and now I have a better composition. If you do a bad image in the computer, you've wasted a whole day. And so it's a very painful way to learn about what looks good and bad. And so you learn it really, really strongly because you don't want to waste a day, you know what I mean? So when you go to the next shot, you really, really learn those lessons hard. And so I think it's a really good training ground for I shot the first movie I did, and when I picked up the camera, I wanted to put a sticker on it that said real-time rendering, because it was so beautiful to be able to move quickly and suddenly, like, instead of spending a day, it was fixed. And so what you're doing all day long is just learning those tricks. For instance, the human brain needs a point of reference for scale. Mm-hmm. So you want to put a person in there usually. In a jungle, apart from a tree, the only thing that tells you how big something is probably a person. Mm-hmm. And then the problem is, if I do what's called an over-the-shoulder shot, probably like this is now, right? Is if I'm bigger than you in frame, you're gonna look small, right? So you can't do that. You have to back the camera away like 30 meters. So I'm small again, and the dinosaur's big, and little silly things like that maybe, hopefully the audience doesn't know anything about, but it just keeps telling you this stuff is massive, you know.
I love how nerdy this gets, but I'm told to wrap up. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the movie. I really loved it.
Thank you.